And hello and welcome to At the Picnics number 15. And we've got a very, very special episode this week, Dani. And of course, people that are probably looking going, I recognise that man. He's been on before. Yes, we've got the great man, Bodey on. And our special guest that we're going to interview this week is the one and only Dani Walker. And we're going to dissect you big time today, Dani.
God help me, I didn't think there'd be that many people that'd be that interested, but here we go.
No, a lot of people message me and they do, so they want to know a little bit more about Dani Walker. And it is the Walker name is well known in racing, so people don't know about you. But before we start, just got to talk about last week. We had Grant Seckham riding a double at Alexandra. Well done, Grant. Troy Kilgour also got a double with that. So with the trainers, it's right on at the moment. It's got Troy Kilgour on 10 and Don Dwyer on 9, Dani.
Yeah, look out. The boys have got a couple up over the weekend and well-deserved winners to the pair of them. Alex is such a tricky little place to get winners. It's Bodes or Vouch. It's the place of upsets. It's a tricky course, relies a lot on luck as well as good rides, doesn't it, mate?
Yeah, and also I reckon, Tex, if you get a horse that handles Alexandra, that actually handles it, it's a huge bonus because not a lot of horses do. So you're spot on. It's very tricky.
My wallet agrees with you guys. Now with the
you got touched up, I heard, didn't you?
Yeah, in 2 races, big time. With the jockey, Sean Cooper and Melbourne Daughter both didn't ride last weekend, so they're back this week. So Sean's on 22, Mel's on 12, Tyson Barton on 10, and with Grant's double, he's gone to 10.
Yeah, there's a good spread again. So Sean's obviously out in front a fair way of us. He got his suspension reduced by a meeting, so he's back at both this weekend. So he's got a busy weekend and a lot of travelling in front of him, along with the rest of us.
And coming up this weekend, we've got Hinamunji tomorrow being Saturday. So well done to them. Well done to Doug Tompkins, the president, who we tried to get him on the show, but they're just flat out busy up there getting the track ready. So good on them. And if you're up in that area, get down there tomorrow. It's their meeting for the year, which is also their cup meeting. And it's one of those weekends, Dani, where if you're involved, there's a lot of travelling. You got Hinamunji and then all the way back to Balnarring on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're all big fans of the double headers when they're that far apart. Hinamunji from Cranbourne's probably about 5 hours, and that's just in the car. So for those that are towing floats, they're looking closer towards kicking 6. Bodes, you've done the Hinamunji haul a couple of times, and previously we used to have Hinamunji that backed into Swift's Creek. So originally a lot of people used to camp up the top of the mountain and head across to Swift's at the other meeting. So yeah, the programming certainly changed for better or for worse, but evidently the clubs are wrapped with the crowds that they get on their particular days now.
And I think it happens again later on in the season, doesn't it, Dani? I think you've got Swift's Creek on the Saturday, and I think again it's Balnarring on the Sunday. I think
it might be reversed. I think it might be the other way around. But yeah, they've done that course a couple of times. At least this year they left Dedarang. Unfortunately, they didn't race, but Dedarang wasn't a double header, which we're all really looking forward to getting up and hanging out there afterwards. But hopefully next year it'll run a little bit the same course, and we can have a crack at staying up there next year.
Absolutely. And of course, this show is brought to us by Picnic Bet, and we thank Fran very, very much for always putting this show up on the Picnic Bet Facebook site and the website. So thank you very much, Fran. So, Dani, over to you. So my first question I've got for you, and I'm sure Adam's got plenty. He has known you for a hell of a lot longer than I have, but you're looking a bit nervous there, Dani.
Oh, God knows what you two are going to throw at me. So, especially when it comes to Chris Hemsworth at the end of this. So, yeah, no.
He's been very excited about this one, Dani. So, my first question is what we always ask to people in the industry, and I already know the answer. For people that don't know you, how did you get involved in horse racing?
Look, my granddad originally bought a racehorse from his neighbour when he was a market gardener back in the early 50s. And he ended up breeding racehorses. And my mum was horse mad from the time that she hit the ground. She actually went inside one day as about a 2 or a 3-year-old saying to Granddad, I rode Kinty. Actually, it was Grandma. And Kinty was the 17-hand steeplechaser. Mum had climbed up the fence at the age of 3, jumped on the horse. Her sister had smacked it on the ass with the golf club and it walked around the yard on her. Fortunately, that was all it did. So when it got back to the fence, she climbed off and flew inside and bragged about it. So Grandma went, oh, God, she can't be doing this. So she went and told Granddad, and Mum got the strap. So, look, racing's definitely in the blood. My dad played polo and did camp drafting and polo cross. Not polo cross, just polo. We've all done pony club throughout our lives. My stepmother was a show rider. And had ponies in that as well. So it's definitely in the blood. As a kid, I worked for Ian and Jan Hutchins during my school holidays. Cuppas ready at 3:30 in the morning was the wake up call, and off down the stables to pick up shit, lead horses, brush manes and tails. Until I was big enough to do much else was the story of it. So I still to this day hate washing out water buckets in winter because my hands still hate the cold, but it was certainly an education process.
Brutal.
And you had the opportunity to be a professional jockey at one stage, and you were fairly successful, Dani. You rode a few winners. How did that come about? And now you moved on to being a trainer.
Look, from the time I was a kid, I used to sit on the back of the couch, and all I ever wanted to do was ride racehorses. That was it. Go fast, jump high, and away we went. So I conned Mum into letting me go and learn how to ride track work. So Mum knew Mark Burnell, who was a horse dentist, and he knew Mick Kent and Karen Flaherty, and I got a job on trial there for the school holidays. So by the end of the first week, Mick had already approached Mum about me being an apprentice, and Mum said, no, she has to stay at school. I hated school, and I'm still the same. And I was
going to say, that did you a lot of good.
Yeah, no, none at all. I must say, going into training, I wish I had probably hit the books a bit better. So, yeah, look, long story short, by the end of the school holidays, I was signed up to be an apprentice on the condition that I finish year 11. And by the 3/4 of the way through year 11, I dropped out and I was working full-time at Mick Kent's. Rest is history. I think I had about 60 rides at the pros, kicked home 6 winners, got glandular fever and then got chronic fatigue syndrome. So I had some really massive health battles. Fortunately for me, they changed the rules with picnic riders and they allowed people who had done an apprenticeship to come to the picnics. I hadn't had enough rides to get told don't come. So I turned up at the picnics and with all of Bodes and Simon Stoll and Shane McGovern, Razor, Deb, the rest of them, pretty cutthroat. I was allowed to have 10 winners, but because I'd already ridden 6, I got 4 winners and then that was it for my claim. So pretty brutal. Welcome to the hothouse, I suppose you could say.
Yeah. Now, a few weeks ago, I was bored one night. I don't even remember why, and I wasn't stalking you, Dani, but I Googled you.
You probably weren't sleeping for something unusual for you.
We share something very similar, don't we? And I read that you represented Australia, and it was very, very interesting reading. Please tell us all about that.
I reckon Bodes can nearly kick this one off. He was approached by some people, weren't you, mate?
Oh, I'm not sure what we're talking about. We're talking about the Arabian stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, you've got a better knowledge of that than me. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember when
NARA, which was the Arabian Racing Association, said that they'd approached you and asked you whether you had any idea on any female riders that would be savvy enough to go overseas on their own and ride to represent Australian lady amateur riders. So Bodes put my name forward.
That's right. Yep.
I got the gig. Had an absolute ball. I got to ride in San Francisco, a place called Pleasanton. And I also went to Warsaw in Poland, which I was actually fortunate enough I won over there, but my horse had a positive swab to bromotrimetine, which for anyone else out there it's a cold medication basically, and nowadays it's not even really an issue. But anyway,
no, it's not a thing anymore, is it?
Nah, I couldn't ride in the final at Abu Dhabi, but I still got to go over there, and I also got to ride in Sweden. And they mucked up my flights for that because I actually won it out of a raffle, out of a fishbowl. They drew my name out. So of all the people that lived in Europe, and, you know, close to the area. They drew out the little idiot that lived a million miles away, and it took 4 hours at 4 different flights to get me there. So it was pretty cool. It was a really amazing experience, and I met some absolutely amazing people. Rachel King was actually riding in the same series that I was in.
Wow, I didn't actually know that. That's a good story. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. There's actually, I don't know that you'd be able to find it now, but there was footage of Rachel and I doing, it was whips and boots. So instead of doing heads and tails, it was whips and boots to go down to this prize. And she won it was a tiny little hat by some famous milliner that was in the Middle East. So yeah, it was hysterical, but me being the noisy Aussie, everybody remembered me, and there was actually a couple of photos of us after the last night asleep on the motel luggage trolley, because I'd had a pretty big night with everybody else and probably outlasted nearly everybody else, and turned up, and I managed to lose my passport at the Abu Dhabi airport, and it got handed into the police, and then still half cast I had to go into the airport because it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I've had to go into the airport, provide ID to get my passport back so I could get on my flight to come home.
Lucky they didn't lock you
Well,
up
was
over there.
Oh,
No.
look, and I mean, Poland was hysterical. I was down to like my last $20 in the motel, out drinking with everybody again, because the trophy that I won was like 6 litres of Bodey Click champagne. So
Oh, dear.
I don't drink champagne, so you can
There's
imagine
a
the shape
headache.
of it. Yeah, it was. Absolutely. So yeah, so we've lobbed into the casino area of the hotel, and I've put my last €20 into a pokie machine, and lo and behold, I've pulled out like 2,000 euro or €1,000 or something.
Jeez.
So,
Back on track. You're back.
mate, it was unbelievable. Like a girl that was riding track work for me, I bought her like a bottle of $200 red wine coming back in through customs. I bought my boss at the time like a bottle of green label Johnny Walker. Yeah, I bought myself a pair of pearl earrings. I bought mum some as well. Like it was absolutely insane. Just priceless stuff, like stuff you wouldn't read about. It was just absolutely mental. It was brilliant.
Fantastic. Now, I know, Adam, you've probably got a few questions, but I've just got another couple for Dani. And for people that are listening, you've talked about the Arabians. What's the difference between an Arabian horse and a thoroughbred?
Size is probably the most obvious, and speed. The Arabs probably only get up to what we call even times, or 14 seconds to the furlong, maybe a little bit quicker. Yep. I rode a couple of quick ones up here, and they could break 14s, and that was on the Gold Coast. I won a couple of races up there. The Arabians are generally more utilised for endurance, but all of our thoroughbred lines actually go back to the ancient Egyptian lines. But obviously they honed them a lot further over centuries and got our modern day thoroughbreds. Through the Middle East and Europe and that, their Arabian racing is massive. It's nearly just about as big as what our thoroughbred racing is. Okay. But not having the population of horses or people behind it out here, it never really kicked off. But in America, not only do they race Arabians, they race donkeys, they even race ostriches, and they race camels. So you can actually go out to the American racing stables at some of these small county fairs and that, and you have racehorses, mules, donkeys, all lined up to race. It's hysterical. It's something like you just don't see.
You sure we don't race donkeys here? Because I swear I'll back a couple.
Yeah, I reckon.
I'm pretty positive we've all ridden a couple. Don't worry, haven't we both?
Absolutely, we have. Yeah. It's alive and well.
And Dani, before I hand
over, I'm feeding a couple of them out the back too. A couple of retired ones.
Before I hand you over to Adam, I know this is going to be a really hard question for you to answer. You've ridden, winners in the pros and the Arabians and now on the picnics. What's your most memorable win and why?
Got a couple. One of them, obviously my first one, it was for Barry Burke, a horse called Will's Miss. It was a big grey mare. And that was obviously my favourite one because it was my first at Bairnsdale when I was about 16 in 96, I reckon. Winning, I won a couple of times on mum and granddad's horses, which were always really memorable. And I won a couple at the pros for John Baker, who I rode a lot of work for. and
Mm.
that was always really good too. It was really satisfying when you do so much work on them. My first cup win at the picnics was on a horse called Purge. It was actually at Hinnamungy.
Oh,
So that
Rod
was pretty
Hammond.
memorable. Yeah, yeah. And that was the year that the plane flew into the power line and the last race
Yep.
got postponed. My Belnarring Cup win, Bodes loves this one. I crawled, everybody got caught napping, and he just didn't quite get to me in time.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
one of my mum's other little mares, a mare called Fontanette, she smashed me in the mounting yard one day when she fell over at Woolamai, but I won quite a few on her at the picnics, and she'd been really hard to get going. She was really hot and revvy and that sort of thing. So, yeah, my sister Olives are always a favourite because it's the longest race, and my granddad had a runner in the Melbourne Cup when I was not even invented. My mum strapped it. She was only about 15, I think. So yeah, there's a few, but yeah, they're probably sort of more the ones that I remember most well. And I suppose of recent times, Barringer, because he was the first horse I trained.
That's what I was going to say next. Surely training, that's a real thrill. And,
and he's a terrorist. He's such a smart ass of a horse. He planted me in the beach the other day and he's nearly broken my knuckles, and like he's just a menace to society, but he's just the funniest horse to have around the joint. He's very intelligent.
Met him a few times, as you know, and I think he's just a charming horse, and he's obviously got me stooged.
Absolutely, every step of the way. Everybody at work thought he was cute too until he started pulling the wall ropes down and the bridles off and the rugs off the rails.
Well, he runs your farm. You know that. He's the boss. He can do what he wants.
You can walk outside and go, Baz, what are you doing? And he screams out to you and gallops across to the fence as if to say, well, come on, is it my turn yet? Let's go.
He's certainly got a personality. All right, Adam, I'm sure you've got a few questions, my friend.
Yeah, well, you just brought up a few things there, Tex. Firstly, Barringer, he's an ex-Griff horse, yeah?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's
I've ridden him work. We used to call him Tom, as in Tom Berenger. Tom Barringer.
Yes.
Tom Berenger. Yeah. Tom.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a smart ass.
I never knew that Desi trained a horse that ran in the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah. It was, I reckon, 60-ish, somewhere around there. Lamonic won the Duke of Norfolk, I think, in 61, and I think Sansequin was a few years later. So I think he might have been about 68 or 69. I can't remember.
Yeah, right, cool. And it's amazing, like just hearing your Arabian stories. Like I'd forgotten a lot of that stuff. I'd forgotten just how vastly you'd travelled with that scene. It's quite remarkable, isn't it, that the fact that you can ride a horse. Sorry?
It was in such short amount of time. Like I did those places in 12 months. It was absolutely mind-boggling.
It's quite incredible, the fact that you can ride a horse has taken you to all those places all over the world. And I must admit, I'd forgotten about just how much you had travelled in that short amount of time. It's quite remarkable, mate.
I had so much fun. It was just absolutely unreal. Like I actually ended up knowing Dubai Airport way better than what I ever thought I'd know any airport in the world.
And it would be massive.
Massive, like huge. There's A and B stations and you can wander around and have drinks at any time of the day or night. And it didn't matter. You could get a Jim Beam or a Jack Daniels anywhere in the joint. And there was a joint in there that served ice cream. And I'll tell you what, it was the best ice cream in the world I've ever eaten.
Is that right? Yeah. See, that's amazing. See, I would find that really daunting, but yeah, that just goes to show, mate, you're well travelled. Now you mentioned a couple of really good men just in your story there. Baz Burke was a great man.
Yeah, absolutely sensational.
You rode your first winner for Baz.
Yep. Mum actually remembers when we went down there, it was I beat Scrooge. So Arthur Robertson, Scrooge Robinson.
Oh, yeah, Scrooge.
I did. I outpunched Scroogey, and he came up to us afterwards, came up to me and Mum, he said, congratulations, kid. Good thing I put the whip away. I promise you we didn't. And Baz actually went and he very gingerly handed over $50 each way or whatever it was to the bookies as well on the day. So yeah, it was really good. and Johnny Baker, I wrote a lot of work for him, and I got a
That
few
was the
rides
next
on
man.
for him. Yeah,
That was the next man
just
I wanted to
great
ask you
people.
about, Johnny Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He was an underestimated horseman in a lot of ways to a lot of
100%.
modern people.
Yep.
A lot of us old school crew knew how good he was and knew how clever he was, and having a background with Cyril Beachy that he had, he was really good with the stalers, and he was a really good conditioner of horses. And yeah, just a coffee drinking, chain smoking, loved his beer of an afternoon, but just a rippingly hard worker and a soul of the earth. The pair of them, they were just brilliant men.
Yeah. No, that's it. You've described them beautifully. It's just exactly the way I remember them. Couldn't have put that better. Now I've got a couple of questions here for you, Tex, but just a couple of basic sort of questions. But you touched on Pony Club earlier on in the interview. I went to Pony Club as a kid. I just want to know your thoughts on Pony Club as a kid, learning to ride, getting you to where you are or where you have been and where you are now, in comparison to a lot of kids these days that come through the apprentice scheme without that sort of background. How much of a benefit do you think it is?
I don't think you can underestimate the value Pony Club teaches you. It doesn't just give you the horse riding experience. It gives you the general knowledge. It gives you the discipline that you have to get off your ass and go and do it yourself. You can't expect everybody else to help you. I'm not knocking any of the school or anything else. There's more school available to the apprentices and that these days than what there was for me personally. And I think these days it's a lot more focused on ensuring that they can set themselves up for life experience and for their futures, and that whether it be in racing or not. Pony Club teaches you to be grounded. It teaches you to fall off, teaches you to dust yourself off and get back up. It teaches you balance, coordination, natural horsemanship, and I don't think you can get that just from riding track work and in racing and trials and stuff. It's such an all-round thing, and it gives you such a good feel for what you do further in your life from it. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily miss, but it doesn't even have to be Pony Club, but just riding when you're younger and ensuring that your riding covers so many more bases. Bareback, jumping, games, novelties.
Yep.
You become very natural. Yeah, that'd be the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, versatility.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think like our apprentice scheme does a magnificent job with these young guys. I think you're quite correct. They're conditioned to control their finances in life, and also they're taught how to speak and present themselves. Whereas the Pony Club side of it, it teaches you about horse husbandry.
Yeah.
And like you say, get off your ass and do it yourself. Saddle your own horse up. Care for it, dress it.
I read something a little while ago, and it said, don't go and saddle your kids' horses for them. Make them go and do it themselves. Picking up a saddle builds all your core muscles. Picking up picking up poo. It builds muscles. It builds stamina. It builds endurance. A little kid trying to put a bridle on a horse that's taller than them, it teaches you patience. And it teaches you how to think outside the box. Maybe you go and climb on a fence and get the pony over the fence so she can get it on. So it gives you all of these other avenues to explore and look past the mainstream of what's presented in front of you in this neat little package.
Is there an age limit at Pony Clubs?
I think 5 and up. It's either 5 or 6. I can't remember.
And what's the oldest?
Used to be 21, but I think you can actually stay on a little bit longer now.
21.
And so
that's a bugger. I was going to head down there Saturday morning and give it a go.
You'll be able to find an adult rider somewhere. It's Adult Riding Association, so we'll hook you up with one of them and send you out.
The poor horse, little fat me on it. break its back.
We can find you a Clydesdale. It'll keep you safe.
That's all right. That'll do me.
No, they're very good points there you raised, Tex. I've been asked in the past myself, how'd you learn to ride? Who taught you to ride? And I said, well, my mother carted me all over the place. Just having a bevy there.
Yeah.
She's
Gotta
allowed.
get, it's warm enough. I've got to enjoy my
Hang on, Dani. Have you fed all your horses?
Yeah, Colin's actually out feeding them now because we're a little bit earlier this afternoon. Colin's throwing feeds for us.
He's a good man, letting
Um,
it come in early and have a drink and do this.
Yeah, because we're leaving early tomorrow morning to head up the hill. My guys, Splash of Paint actually will have the day off. She did beach work, but she'll go in and Colin will give her a shampoo for me. Barringer's going for a swim, and Colin will work his black horse at home in the round yard.
Awesome.
So yeah, and then we'll all be ready for Sunday.
It's a big road trip, and then butter up on Saturday. It's a big weekend, Tex, isn't it? It's like it's a huge day. It's a huge road trip, and then buttering up the next day. It's not easy.
It becomes all about efficiency and time travel and having travel buddies, so you don't have to do all the driving on your own. I've done it many years ago. You and I've gone up together, or I've gone up as far halfway, say to Maui or something, and jumped in with Maddie Corbett-Zero or Ange Bence, any of those sorts of crew, and hitchhiked the rest of the way up with them. And I'm got to leave here at 7 a.m. So Zoe probably won't see me in the morning before I leave. She may or may not see me by the time I get home. So I think we've got to get up there by about 12-ish. I'm hitchhiking with Poops and Taylor, China, tomorrow. And I was going to go up with Mel, but Mel's leaving a bit earlier because she's towing horses up, and so she's got Strapper and that going with her. But I thought that gives me a little bit longer to get organised from home, and probably won't get home till sort of about 10-ish, I guess. And then get ready and have a runner on Sunday at Balnarring. So
where is Zoe today? It's your special show. Where is the young lady?
Well, she's out terrorising her dad and seeing what she can get for dinner tonight. Her cook, because she got her yellow maths ranger today.
She did,
and she also picked up a student of the week. So Dad's been doing really good. He's been practicing her maths with her.
Good. And
it's shone through. The teacher's rap with her is that she's done a really great job the last couple of weeks. Really knuckled down well. So
good
I'm wrapped with her. She's flying.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
That's why you're a good mum, Dani.
Oh, we try. He tells me I spend way too much time with the horses. But look, we've been pretty lucky. Early doors, obviously, Mum helped us a lot, but because we lost Mum and we lost Granddad, we lost Granddad last year and we lost my mum a couple of years ago. So we've had all sorts of people come in and try. Well, when I say all sorts, our neighbours have helped babysit. My dad and my stepmum have come down and done school runs for us. My grandmother's come out and done babysitting. My auntie was babysitting as well for a while. So really fortunate to have had such a really big stream and support network of friends that have helped us out while we've been trying to do this. I was never going to get my trainer's license. It was always Mum's job. And as Bodey pointed out earlier, school probably wasn't my forte either. So I've had to learn how to run a business being thrown in the deep end. So that's been a little interesting at times. And Bodey can tell us all about trying to chase people up for horses and those sorts of things. So
it's a tricky job. I know the position you're in. I don't envy. I don't envy that position, but you'll be right, mate. You've got strong character, so you'll work it out. I'm glad. I'm actually
it's character building.
Yeah, I'm actually pleased you're training. I reckon it's great.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's entertaining.
Yeah. You've got to be, and you are. You've got to be part mad to be a horse trainer. There's no doubt about it. So
only part mad.
Like, why don't more people do it? Such a great job.
Look, I'm probably fortunate. I'm not sure whether it's myself, my husband, my daughter, or the rest of the world. I'm fortunate I don't actually have to employ staff because, as entertaining as I am part psychopath. You are. Bodey has got a couple of good sprays off me in the past.
Yeah. No, you're psycho.
Yep.
Adam, I've got to quickly tell you how I actually met Dani, and this sums up her character. being involved, been going to the picnics for years, and you don't really notice what the jockeys look like and that sort of thing. You know, you just see names and that, and you know, getting involved with a horse finally last year, and I was at Woolamai and I was walking past this lady and her daughter, and you know, working in the education industry, I love children. I just started talking to this lovely young girl, and I went, "Oh, she's lovely." And this other mum walked up and we got chatting. We were chatting for a good half an hour, and she goes, "Oh yeah, you live in the area. If you're ever around, just here's my address. Pop in for a beer." And I'm thinking, I didn't realise till halfway through the conversation that it was Dani Walker, the jockey.
Yeah.
And that just sums up Dani, just inviting a strange bloke around for a beer. And I thought, what a lovely lady. And you know, we've formed a pretty good friendship over a short period of time, and I hope Dani agrees with me. And recently gave her the beautiful splash of paint to train, and had no qualms in doing that. And I just and it's been an honour to do these shows with Dani, and you know, very, very, very well liked in the industry, and I've heard no one say a bad word about Dani.
No, I think
it's been an entertaining run.
I think you guys, what you've done with this podcast, whatever you want to call it, has been a fantastic innovation for picnic racing as a whole. So kudos to you guys for that, because it's what it's done is generated interest.
Yep.
Mm.
That was the whole idea, mate. That was
it's been fantastic. And secondly, mate, obviously I've known Tex for a long time, and you've summed her up beautifully. She's probably, and you might disagree with this, Tex, or agree, but you've got as a competitor, you've got.
Now I think I need to go and have another beer.
Well, I'm going to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've always had a tough exterior, which you need to have in this industry, a thick skin, a tough exterior. And as a competitor, you've always had that hard edge. But I also know that deep down, you're a very, very caring person, mate. And you've always been, when the chips are down to someone within the industry, or even within the picnic fraternity, or outside, when the chips are down, you're always there. And you've always been really good to Christy and my girls through the whole thing. So even though you've got this tough exterior, mate, which you need to have, you've got a really sensitive and caring side to your character, which is
thank you,
a great value.
Yeah.
And we can all see.
Only problem is, Adam, and you've probably seen this, sometimes she can be a bit of a light switch, Dani. She can be your best mate one day, and the next day she won't talk to you, and you think, God, she's a moody bloody bitch. But you know, I know that Dani has a stressful life. She's taken on all these horses and trying to be a mum and everything, and her picnic riding as well. She takes so much bloody on, and she's one of those ones that worries me because she hardly sleeps and is always out doing stuff. So at the start I took it to heart, but now I don't, because I know that's just her. And if she wants to talk to you one day, she will. If she doesn't, don't take it personally.
But sometimes I just get a little bit caught up in everything else that's going on. As Adam said, I've probably got a couple of, actually both pointed to, I've got a couple of caps on most of the time. And poor Mel, he ends up cooking tea quite a bit through the picnic season because I just don't get inside. And now that I'm having more horses in work, it's just as deadly. You'd know this feeling, both. You sort of get up, you go to work, you come home, you have a rest. If you got time, then you get back up, go out, do it again, and you try and get home to catch up with the kids or whatever.
It's hard to manage. Can vouch for that. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's right. And look, I'm really fortunate. Mel has jumped on board with everything, and he's been great. He's even brought in a few of his mates and that have come on board owning some of the horses and that with us. I must say, social events at our place are pretty good fun and entertaining. There's always a few bevies and some good stories. And I like the idea that that's going to be sort of the stable that I train with, is, you know, people that want to sort of come on board, have a bit of experience. Don't hold it against me if I don't get back to you right now. I try and get a hold of everybody as I can, and that, you know, everybody can have a bit of lighthearted fun and entertainment, and hopefully we get a picture on the wall somewhere, be it Woolamai, or maybe Geelong or Pakenham or one day in town. So yeah, but that's racing.
That's the dream. Now, Dani, we've only just got on 2 minutes, so our good friend's popped in. Now, he knows I've been to your house a few times, and I've told him you make a damn good coffee. You do, and
Thank you.
no, you're welcome. He's saying, well, she's never invited me, and I said, well, come with me one time. And he goes, no, I don't go unless people invite me. So, is he allowed to come around?
Yeah, of course he can. I'm sure Dot would be rapt to meet him as well. And yeah, I'm sure Dot and Abby and the rest of the four-legged crew would give him a great welcome.
Fantastic. Now he might sort of start wandering up the stairs towards the bedroom part. What are we going to do there?
No chance of that happening, buddy.
Oh,
No chance in Hades. I've been married. I've been with Mel, I reckon, nearly 10 years now.
Oh,
and,
fantastic.
Yeah, I'm cured. That's it. I'm sold.
That's 2 weeks in a row he's just been shot down. Like Ben shot him down last week. He's been shot down again this week. What are we going to do with him? I might take him to Balnarring Sunday. And...
We don't have hall passes in our relationship. Well, I think if Mel had a hall pass, it'd be Kylie Minogue. But yeah, so lucky for me, he likes short women.
That's it. Dani, it's been a pleasure, mate. And no, it was an intimate interview, and that's just you. And you're very much like me. You wear your heart on your sleeve. And recently, I posted a message on our chat, and we won't go much into it, but it was me just posting an opinion, and quick as lightning, you rang me up and told me to pull me freaking head in, which I did, and I didn't take it to heart, but you understood where I was coming from. So no, we appreciate the fact that we got to know Dani a lot more, and all the people that are watching did.
Now, look, thanks, guys. And look, thank you to everybody out there who supports not just me, but all of us in picnic racing and gets on board with the causes and that we come up with and find and stumble across. It means the world to all of us. And that's what makes so much of this community such a great community. I mean, Bodes, we've missed you since you've been retired, but it's been really, really good to catch up. And thanks for coming on board with this as well.
Adam's going to come on again. Don't worry about that. We're going to get him again. So we're going to cut out, guys. Thank you so much. Good luck to everybody. Good luck to everybody in the weekend, and everyone be safe, and we'll catch up next week.
No worries. Good luck. Stay safe.
Thanks,
and happy
guys.
long weekend.